Okay, we're live. Matt, can you see me? Can you hear me?
Oh man, we are live. I can see the YouTube video that I have up, but that's delayed by a few seconds. I can see you in that, but I think your video is unshared in the collab room. I don't know if you're able to share it there or not.
How about now? I should be. I should be good. I can see you.
Oh man, I can't see you though in the Streamlabs collab, but no worries. I can see things in the YouTube video.
Okay, sounds good. All right. Well, we're here to review the week in wrestling. Pretty eventful week. We're coming off 2 weeks from WrestleMania, perhaps the best WrestleMania of all time. What do you think about that?
Oh, it was better than I thought actually. But I know we felt a couple matches disappointed. I know for you at least the Uso match was a little bit just kind of like a super kick fest, and never really got into that other gear. There was that moment where Jimmy kind of was like, "Hey, Us, take it easy, come on," and then low blowed him and cheap shot at him and stuff. But yeah, I don't know. Off the top of my head, I would not guess it was the best one of all time. But that's me just. I never give bests to anything.
Right.
What do you think?
Right. I'll safely put it in the top five. I thought it was awesome. The main event. That's for me what wrestling's all about. Just chaos and those surprise returns with Taker, Cena. The Shield music threw me off quite a bit. And then with Jimmy and Jay, yeah, that match was disappointing, but they kind of redeemed themselves with the spot off the stage when Jay speared Jimmy off the stage. That was pretty cool. But we're in the thick of things now. WrestleMania is in our rearview mirror, so we're kind of looking to see what comes up. So we wanted to hop on here every week around noon Eastern time to give our thoughts on just kind of do a weekly recap of the world of WWE mostly. If anything crazy happens in the Indies or AEW, we'll be sure to touch on that. But what I wanted to start off with talking about is the rumors of this new Wyatt family with Bo Dallas. I watched the documentary, the Bray Wyatt documentary on Peacock. I thought it was awesome. I thought they did a really, really good job. And keeping with the theme of Bray and how he always loved to plant these little Easter eggs, they kind of did that at the end where Bo Dallas, he didn't narrate it, Undertaker narrated it, but Bo Dallas was kind of centerpiece of the whole thing, kind of telling the story. And at the end, he left off with teasing a little Easter egg that the Wyatts might come back, and they've been doing those QR codes on Raw. But Matt, I'm curious if you have any. Do you want to see a new sort of Wyatt family type thing without Bray Wyatt? Do you think Bo Dallas would do a good job? And just curious as your thoughts there.
Yeah, there's definitely two ways. There's at least two ways to feel about it. And on the one hand, you have if it was going to be Wyatt stuff, it should just be like Bray doing it. But I'm good with this. I'm the other way. I remember I haven't seen the documentary, but I remember just seeing the promo spots for it. And I know one of our friends actually was like, "Is that Bray Wyatt?" We're like, "No, man, he passed."
Mm-hmm.
Because Bo kind of really was growing out that beard a little bit, and just like as I was watching it, I didn't like the promotional material for it. I didn't necessarily think that there was any intentional teasers in the promo, but I kind of looked at it and I was like, I could totally see like Bo Dallas as a tribute to like his brother. I would be fine if he brought one of those characters back, or if he came back. And I mean, really, it's a public story. We know Bray has passed. We know Bo Dallas is his brother. Like, we don't need to keep like reality out of wrestling anymore. It's not so kayfabe that we can't acknowledge this and then just be like, Bo is one of these Wyatt characters, and either like play into reality or just ignore it a little bit. But I really like it. I think if there's somebody that should do it, it should be a legitimate family member of Bray's. I'm rooting for it. I'd like to see it if it can be well done.
Yeah, it's taking a big risk because if you bomb with this, it just feels like there's a little extra stake in the game added to it with Bray passing and trying to continue his storyline. So I'm curious to see what they do. But I want to just get your thoughts. So I have never scanned one of those QR codes until last night when Triple H was coming out to introduce the new tag titles, which we'll talk about too. They flashed the QR code, which they've been doing, and it presented this image that we're looking at on our screen. Yeah, I don't know if you've ever done one of those ink blot tests, but that's kind of what it reminds me of. Here, let me see if I can blow this up a little bit.
Interesting.
So we're gonna play the ink blot test game. Matt, when you look at the image on your screen, what do you see?
Well, I'm imagining that this is the back of the head of someone. It's a very human shape.
Mm-hmm.
Neck, shoulders. I can't imagine it could be much else. But it could be a weird butt plug, just blurred out. but, but yeah, I would just say it's the silhouette of somebody. I feel like they're looking out, but it almost looks like they have a man bun there in the back, coming up a little and facing forward. But I was thinking they were looking to the sky, looking to the heavens. I'm gonna try and peek really close. I almost feel like within that center of that face, you can kind of make out the Wyatt family butterfly shape a little bit. I can almost kind of see like the bugs, like it's not completely there, but like distorted. You can almost kind of see like a little wing off to the side and kind of like a bug shape. I don't know.
Yeah, good take. I mean, I think it's definitely a butt plug. I think they're gonna tease Wyatt family reunion and just swerve everybody, and half the seats in the sold out crowds are gonna just have butt plugs, and they're gonna yowzer, yowie, wowie. Yeah, but I don't know. It's always so out there for me, but what it first reminded me of is like if you ever been to a church, like a Christian church, a lot of them have those old school like ladies with the hood just kind of like looking down ominously. It's kind of like that, but looking away from the heavens. Maybe I don't like dissecting art, but Bray could be up there, and maybe we're focusing on the future, whatever. I don't know, but. Yeah, I'm very curious. Apparently, it's the rumors are saying, and if you don't like rumors, turn it off now. But they're saying they might be part of the upcoming draft, which is going to happen starting a week from yesterday. So I don't know what do you have? Adam Pearce come out and say, I'm picking up the Wyatts, and have them come out, or do you have them maybe infiltrate it a little, do something a little more creative? I don't know, but very curious nonetheless.
Interesting. Yeah, it'll be interesting to maybe talk about the draft a little bit as well, and any predictions you might have for it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we could definitely carve out some time to do some draft predictions. But the next topic I wanted to talk about, and it's funny because he addressed it himself, so it's not so new and fresh anymore. We had the one and only Sheamus return on Raw, and he was looking a little bit different than we're used to seeing. So I'm going to throw it over to you. Any thoughts on this new and improved shape? We have Sheamus plus maybe 20.
Poor Sheamus. I saw this image, you brought it up, and then a day or two later, I was kind of looking at recaps of stuff, and I saw the image and like a short article on the site. I usually check out a Raw recap of, just kind of being like, Sheamus' return marred by his physique and his look. Poor guy. I mean, it doesn't bother me. Sheamus can look however he wants. I mean, I get it, but if you can still go in the ring, I don't care. We got guys like Bronson Reed and Kevin Owens and guys that aren't gonna aren't gonna win any beautiful body contests, but man, they can all go in the ring and pull off some cool stuff. So maybe this is a healthier Sheamus. Maybe he'll be even better. So let him let him be Irish. Let him eat what he wants.
Right. Totally agree. And I don't know if you caught. So I don't use the Twitter anymore, but I've caught some just. What was it? So I've seen some of his back and forth with some of the fans who have been calling him out, and he is just the most likable guy because people have been taking this image, blowing it up, and having like putting a McDonald's in the background or something. And, it's funny stuff, but probably people who are not in that great of shapes themselves. But anywho, he would reply to it, and apparently he got called up weeks, if not months, before he thought he was going to. So he wasn't quite ready, and he just took it with a grain of salt. He was laughing it off, and he just wait. Because he's got his own YouTube channel where he works out with other people, so the guy's going to get back to it. And this, I feel like this is an unflattering angle, and he always had it working against himself that he could never tan. I feel like a tan is like half of it. Like if you got a tan, you're going to look way better. But he doesn't even look bad. I mean, maybe 5 extra pounds he's got. It's like, who cares? But I mean, he came out. I do wish he maybe had a better booked return, and they just threw him in a random match. They announced it ahead of time. Threw him in a random match with Ivar, who is awesome. I love Ivar, but he doesn't really have much direction right now. I feel like with someone with a big a profile, Sheamus would have had a little bit more just kind of either unannounced so we get that classic return pop, or just thrown into something with a little more direction.
Yeah, I get that. It's tough after Mania, where a lot of the directions they've kind of already started for what's going to be Backlash and who are contenders and stuff. And so, I guess you'd think Sheamus could come back and contend for a mid-card title right away, or maybe come back and pick a bone with someone, but they might not have had anybody free really, and get him in a match, let him reacclimate, and he'll pick up something. But I trust he'll get that weight cut, just looking a little soft.
Yeah,
look a little doughy, maybe a lot of carbs before he came back.
Right. Now he's in his cutting phase, and he'll cut up. So
but looking like AJ Styles at WrestleMania.
Oh, dude, AJ
looked jacked.
He's so jacked.
Talking about how the first night, Seth Rollins, compared to how he looked 5 years ago or so, he's kind of a little softer in the torso as well, kind of that Sheamus look. But AJ Styles out there was just looking like Ultimate Warrior physique. I was like, what the hell, AJ?
Yeah. AJ's always. I feel like AJ and Seth kind of swapped a little bit. Seth, but they're all, cardio wise and just being in in-ring shape. It always shocked me that a guy like Kevin Owens, who's never been known for being shredded and cut up, can go for so long and have such good matches and never. I've never seen him, kind of blow up or do any sort of rest holds and be out of breath in there. That's awesome. So they're in a totally different kind of shape that, I try to get into. But one thing that came out this week that I wanted to touch on is they split the tag titles, but they also introduced new belts. And I know belts used to be, a no, you can't say word, but the one segment from Raw, which still has me cracking up, because it involved R-Truth. R-Truth is just on fire right now. So I jotted it down because I wanted to make sure I remembered to touch on it. So they're going with the Raw titles are the world titles and the SmackDown titles are the WWE titles. And when they were introducing it, Triple H revealed the titles under this blanket or carpet, they do, the cloth. And Truth got all confused, and he thought Triple H was a magician. And Miz goes, Truth, he's not a magician. And then Truth goes, that's exactly something a magician would say. And just classic Truth. I don't know if he writes this stuff beforehand or if he just goes out there and riffs, but either way, the guy is absolute gold, and I like Awesome Truth as the inaugural Raw or World Tag Team Champs. I've never been big on what the belt looks like, but I like Awesome Truth, and if it's got to be a shorter title reign, then so be it. But any thoughts on the tag titles right now?
Yeah. Well, my prediction, I'm sad, but I think it's the right call. This is probably a shorter tag title reign, but because Truth is so fun right now, and I think everybody is just enjoying. There's always like one guy that just seems to be like knocking it out of the park with comedic segments. There was a time when Santino Marella was pretty good at it, and then there was a time where they put him in some really ridiculous stuff, and it went really downhill. But there's always one guy that you're just like, yeah, I like half the time the comedy, like 90% of the time, the comedy in wrestling does not work, but one guy figures it out and nails it. Your Jericho's, your Santino Morella's, Chad Gable, more or less for a little bit there, and R-Truth is awesome right now. So I'd like him to still be involved in the show weekly, but I don't know if him and Miz should be holding the tag titles for too long. Um, I'm My feeling also is I don't know if I like the split of the tag titles. It's really going to depend on how much they try to build tag team wrestling. I just think it's so hard. You get into issues where there's not enough challengers for not enough legitimate challengers for singles titles at the mid card level. Sometimes like, well, who's the next guy? Gunther's going to take up Breaking Prize to move up. Who's going to challenge Sami Zayn? And of course we've got Gable, but you wonder like, who's the guy after that and stuff. And it's even harder for tag teams because you've got to have twice as many wrestlers in that division, and then you have to have legitimate contenders squaring off for that number one contendership. So it remains to be seen how this current iteration of WWE can build and book tag team wrestling. But I would say my prediction is within the next 2 to 3 years, these get unified again.
Yeah.
It's just also hard with the brand split and having like, because sometimes you do want to see one team go against another, and that's a better matchup than the show they're on with the champs that are on that show. And I mean, we could talk about the brand split when we talk more about the draft, which I also is just like I feel like the brand split and tag division are both like forever destined to like not really be a thing. We'll give it a try and pretend like it's something to work on.
Yeah, like a perpetual hot potato where they can't stick to one thing. I agree. I think it's worth a shot right now with the roster being so deep. They got they held not tournaments but fatal four ways on both Raw and SmackDown for the Raw World Tag titles. It looks like coming out of it, Awesome Truth is going to be defending against DIY, which is cool. And then for the other guys, A-Town Down Under, they're going to be defending against the Street Profits. Yeah, and I always want to call them the primetime players. Just, I don't know, similar tag teams, millions of dollars. We want the smoke, But yeah, I love these guys. I love A-Town Down Under. They teased that they were going to be breaking up. They were on like different pages every so often, and hopefully it's a little ways down the road when they do break up, because they're both great talkers. And Grayson Waller for me is one of those guys to watch. I think he's going to be a big deal for a long time.
Yeah, I would say Grayson Waller. I see right now where I think his trajectory will hover around will kind of be like a Dolph Ziggler-ish. Like he has the possibility of just kind of always being that like upper mid card guy that maybe gets like one big title run, but sells good in the ring, good promos, good on the mic, good in feuds. But because he's a little bit bigger, I guess, and maybe has more of that look, he could kind of hit that level of Dolph Ziggler that I think people that are fans of Ziggler always wanted and knew he could hit, and be like more or less a Shawn Michaels caliber main eventer. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see where he kind of teeters for that comparison, or if I'm completely wrong and he's his own person. But that's kind of a last generation wrestler that I would see him maybe kind of being similar to.
Yeah, totally. And sorry, fixing my cam. I like that. I like that comparison with Grayson and Dolph. And yeah, so another thing that we saw pop up in this week of wrestling was we got our first challenger to the new WWE Undisputed Champion, Cody Rhodes. I think we mentioned this guy when we were talking about where does Cody go from here. And I think it's the perfect choice, and that's AJ Styles. AJ is a credible challenger at any time. I mean, he did win the tournament to be crowned, number one contender, but he's always going to be taken seriously. He's always going to be up there, but sadly, I don't think he's got much of a shot. They're not going to have Cody drop to AJ so early, but any thoughts on the AJ Cody feud?
Yeah, I'm hoping they add some kind of, not stipulation. Nobody thought I was going there, but I'm hoping they add some kind of layer to this. And I know AJ and Cody are both talented enough, Cody especially, but AJ as well. They are kind of more like, I would almost consider them like classically trained. There's like jazz piano where like, ooh, that's maybe your John Cena when he's on a promo building up a title match. And then there's your classically trained guys playing Chopin and Beethoven who sell a match the Paul Heyman way. This title means so much. I have to defend and beat this guy. Cody and AJ, I feel like, are the classically trained promo guys. So they don't really need like any kind of like angle where AJ Styles is like, this is your story that you were trying to finish. This is a title I've never won. That's not true. AJ has been this champion. Maybe it's hard to know with the two different WWE titles because he's held one of the main titles, maybe both. But I'd like to see something more than just I'm the number one contender. I want that title. I want to beat you, and maybe bring in some history, bring in some second level here, because I think you're right. I don't think AJ Styles is logically going to have any chance, in the most craziest swerve, have Cody drop to AJ, but. Never know. What are your thoughts on this?
I agree. I think it's going to have some notes of history. I have always stayed kind of up to date on what happens in the indies, but to be honest, I don't watch AEW every week. I don't go to a ton of indie shows. I if it's big enough to hit the radar of like, I'm an internet fan for sure, but I, you're not going to see me at the GCW show very often. I have gone to some, but anyways, off topic. The reason I bring that up, Bullet Club. I know Bullet Club was the huge faction in Ring of Honor and in AEW, New Japan, all this stuff. And both of them were leaders of the Bullet Club at different times. So I imagine they'll tie into that because Cody loves referencing, kind of underground WWE stuff out in the open, but just do it in a slick way. I could see some good promo battles, and I think they're both, great in the ring. And I think we'll have, if it's just a one-off, cool. If it turns into 2-3 matches and Cody's got to, beat him a few times in a row, it could go either way for me. But I am excited. I'm excited about any AJ Styles feud, to be honest.
Yeah. Nice.
So.
Yeah. Bullet Club is, I don't think I knew that about Cody. So, there you go.
Yeah, I think when he went away this most recent time, like in that period before AEW, he was, I don't know if he was like the leader of the Bullet Club or what that even really means at this point. But yeah, he was all up in there. So the next thing I want to talk about, and we've touched on it when we brought up Sami Zayn, but Sami Zayn had his first title defense on Raw, and he went up against our boy, Mr. Chad Gable. And so I snagged, dude, I know, it's so good. I snagged this image from Raw. So I don't know if you saw this, but after the match, Sami Zayn went and he gave his wife a big hug in the crowd, only to be grabbed from behind while he's hugging his wife. And you see him there on the left, and he hit him with a German, like, right out of his wife's arms, and I was dying. I thought it was so funny, and I loved it. Dude, I thought it was a little weird that Zayn got thrown right into title defense against Gable, like, right away. I thought that could have used a little more build, but if this is the outcome, I totally go back on what I originally thought. This is the way to do it. Put Gable right in as a heel. Again, rumors and possible spoilers, I don't know, but the internet's saying that Gable's going to probably break away from Otis and Tozawa and join up with the Creed brothers, which I think is a good fit for him. The Creed brothers, I think they got all the potential in the world. They put on some really good matches, and they fit the wrestling style of Gable. So if you put Gable in that, Kurt Angle role where he is just a wrestling machine and heel, I'm all about that. So any thoughts on this Sami Zayn or Chad Gable, coming out of that match?
Well, I don't know too much about the Creed brothers. I'm guessing this isn't Austin Creed as Xavier Woods. That's his real name, right? I'm guessing they're in NXT.
No, actually, well, they were NXT guys. They've wrestled a handful of matches on the main roster. I wish I could remember their first names, but they have like a woman manager who also wrestles, and the one guy's main move is he jumps off like the top rope or whatever and just cannonballs at you. Like he just wraps himself up in a cannonball, kind of like Darby Allin's, like trust fall, coffin drop. Yeah, it's like that, but he's rolled up in a cannonball. He just bounces right into you. It's great, but I like him a lot, and I think sky's the limit for those guys.
Yeah, for Gable, if this is the case, I would see him. I would like for him to be really, really adamant that he can beat and wants to beat Sami Zayn, but he does not get selected as the number one contender or loses number one contender's match, and kind of feuds with Alpha Academy for a month or two. So he's sometimes in those, triple threat or tag matches or involved in those, but also every once in a while after Sami Zayn, defends successfully, is again in like a number one contender's triple threat match or in some kind of match where he just keeps not quite being able to get that rematch versus Sami Zayn now that he's a heel. And I'd like for it to culminate where it's almost like a weird villain chase of the face, like heel chase for the face title, because maybe that would be, if that makes sense and if it works, I think that'd be fun and a little bit different. But yeah. I think right now, however they want to book Gable, he's got the talent in the ring, and I think he's got the aggression and the humor to kind of make whatever angle they're going to push him for a bit work.
Yeah, I agree, man, 100%. He's great, and I like the heel chase. I like, I don't see Sammy dropping it right away, but also he could. It's not like a Gunther reign where it's, month 10 into his reign and he's just got this random challenger. It's fresh. So if they want to do some quicker title changes with Sami Zayn, I love that.
Yeah.
So, cool. So the last thing I wanted to talk to you about, Matt, is where they're going with the bloodline. It's been the biggest storyline in wrestling for the past 3 years, and Roman's gone, Rock's gone, but a couple remain. And what happened on SmackDown was Solo and God, I forgot his name. Do you know? Tama Tonga. Chimichanga. Yeah. They showed up, and Heyman's just been, crushed that Roman's not around. But Solo, I guess they're going in a direction where Solo's now the leader of the bloodline. But he has insinuated, like, I got the orders from the real tribal chief or from the tribal chief. So either he's saying he himself is, or he's saying maybe Rock is, because Heyman's like, Roman Reigns did not give these orders, whatever. So, so they show up. Solo and Chimichanga, Tama Tonga, they initially asked for Kevin Owens, and then Solo and Heyman are in the ring cutting a promo, and Kevin Owens just gets like thrown out from backstage, and Tama Tonga is they just beat the hell out of him, beat the holy hell out of him. They showed blood, and yeah, it's a really interesting time for the Bloodline. I feel like they could go in like any direction. Any thoughts on just the Bloodline, this new member, or anything else?
Well, I've seen one or two rumors, but it is something that we talked about even before this happened, and it was kind of if Roman Reigns takes significant time off, coming back potentially as a face, and could they do it? And I think that's probably what they're gearing towards, a little bit of a Bloodline civil war.
Mm-hmm.
Rock, Solo, Tonga on one side, Usos and Roman back together on the other, possibly.
I love it.
I would say for me, though, like, I'm sure like this will probably be pretty intense, but like without The Rock, without Roman, this is kind of like the slow point for the Bloodline. This is kind of like we're just, for some people, to use like a Game of Thrones comparison, and I loved the Bran storyline personally.
Mm-hmm.
For a lot of people, my comparison would be like, this is the Bran storyline. This doesn't have like my favorite people. They've kind of taken away like the coolest people, and you're just left with like a kid who can't walk, a guy who only says one word, Solo is Hodor.
Yeah.
So I to me, it's not right now. The Bloodline is not the must-see segments each week. I'm looking forward to other segments, but I think if what they're building towards is going to bring The Rock and Roman back involved, it's obviously going to be massive once that happens. You got to have a little bit of a slow dip so that your next peak is so much higher and really ramps everything up.
Right. It's like life. You can't do all the best things all the time. You got to do the hard stuff so that the good stuff feels good. You can't eat junk food all day every day because then it's whatever. Roman Reigns is my junk food, and the ice cream sundae is going to be when he returns. I hope the return pops for me. I could watch them all. I can't tell you how many times I watched the ending to WrestleMania 40. And each time just getting the frissions, and just I know the Undertaker's coming. I know the gong is coming. But every time it hits, I'm like, oh my God, it's so cool. It's really, really, really awesome. So that's it. Yep.
Yeah, let me ask a question.
Yeah, please do.
Is it your own, this is cool for me? Or are there times when, it's coming, but in that moment, you vicariously put yourself back in that feeling of, what the crowd would have been like? And you're like, every time this gong hits, all 70,000 people or whatever, they all were didn't expect it, and they're experiencing it for the first time. You're like, what would it have been like to experience that for the first time again live? Are you kind of feeling like that, putting yourself back in that place?
Oh, totally, man. All the above, dude. I'll put myself back in there. I've always thought it would be the coolest invention if someone, remember the neuralizer from Men in Black that erased your memories?
Yeah.
I just thought it'd be cool if you could take a pill and it would erase your memory of just the first time you experienced something, so you could listen to an album again for the first time or experience a wrestling show for the first time again. And I think these moments, it'd be so cool to just be able to do it for the first time. But, sometimes wrestling, it checks all the boxes to where, I watch it again and I, feel how I felt the first time. But sometimes I'm also how cool is this for The Rock, or how cool is this for The Undertaker? His last time in the ring was 4 years ago in the Boneyard match or whatever, and just kind of feeling it from all perspectives. And then Cody wins, and then the just cherry on top was Samantha Irvin could barely get it out because she was so excited and caught up in the moment. She's crying her way through announcing Cody. It's and that's, when wrestling goes obviously predetermined, scripted, whatever. But when it touches on reality like that, you still feel good for Cody because sure, we've talked about the story for 2 years, but it's a genuine story. His dad never held the title, and he wants it. And sure, again, you're booked to win it. You know you're going to win it, but winning it still feels awesome, I would imagine. You still have to prove they don't take any random Joe off the street and crown him WWE champion.
Yeah, these guys just aren't celebrities that just, get paid money or get popular just because, because of who their family is or having never put into work. Like, there's that reality, like, even though it's predetermined, there's the reality behind it that how hard a guy like Cody Rhodes worked, not only just the past year or two rehabbing from an injury and stuff like that, but his whole life dedicating it towards wrestling, being some really bum characters and having some really rough booking, having to go try and do another show and compete because WWE just didn't feel he was right for the amount of success he thought he was worthy of and deserving of. And that's like a layer that is underlying that I don't think when you're younger, like when you're a kid watching, you ever really notice. Like, you root for the guy on the very surface value, but seeing this stuff is really some of the better aspects of wrestling as an adult, because you do know there's a reality and such a tremendous amount of work, dedication, injury, recovery that all of these guys put in. And when they win the title, even though they won a predetermined match and they weren't competing for real against the guy, like, when they win the title, it's every bit as validating for all of that hard work. It's such an interesting art form, quite honestly.
Yeah,
in general,
dude, there's nothing like it, and there's something that you want to bet on the guy who bet on himself. Cody was like, it's not working. He could have stuck it out and been like, this is a damn good job. Done the whole like, sure, I'm playing this character that my heart's not in, and I'm Stardust, but it's a paycheck. And I'm guilty of that myself. Just someone who's like, no, I love this. I'm capable of more. Left, bet on himself. Zack Ryder, or he's Matt Cardona. He's doing it himself a little bit. He's doing it his own way, and you definitely gotta tip your cap to someone like that.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so that's it. That's it for this weekly recap in wrestling. We're going to be doing this again at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time every Saturday. We touch on Raw, we touch on SmackDown, and anything in between. And if you're stopping by live, thank you. And if you're stopping by after the fact, come by when we're live and hop in the chats, and we'll chat with you. We love talking wrestling.
Yeah, we'll pick up a topic if you're not covering one. You want to hear takes on the topics that come up over the week, and you're in the live chat.